Hello, everyone. Welcome to my fourth live stream of today, uh, a Wolfram Language Design Review for version 14.3. This is about geo and dates. And I can't believe we're still dealing with the tendrils of dates.
Yeah, it's the fun thing about human representation of dates and times is that we try and make reasonable sense of it, and all the models are complicated. Um,
All right.
the
So,
story for this version is we're continuing to do optimization on various date routines, specifically with a focus on tabular and tabular adjacent things. Holiday calendars are important because we want to know, like for financial exchanges, we want to know what's a business day and what isn't. And so we've kind of reworked the way that we log that stuff internally with an eye on doing it as fast as possible. These timings will improve a little bit. It may improve another order of magnitude when I get the last couple things plumbed in, but we also added fast routines for Tabular to do things like generating date ranges and doing date arithmetic. Um, all of this kind of building on what we did in the previous version or two to get that infrastructure in place.
right. Um, okay. So, okay. No design change, but holidays are faster.
Yep. So there is some design change related to holidays. We talked about this briefly, maybe a month or two ago, but the old definition for holiday just wasn't good. It was implicitly a holiday during the work week, which meant if you asked something like, is the 4th of July a holiday? It would say no if it was on a weekend. We
Uh,
changed that and added various variations to say, if I want only holidays that are weekday, we have weekday holiday now. We also added weekend holiday for symmetry and a few other permutations like non holiday and non business day.
okay. Fair enough. They're all string. Is that right?
Yeah, they're all string types.
Okay.
And with that, there's a question of why don't we have a holiday queue or a weekend holiday queue? And to make that, rather than having a Wednesday queue function, what we're doing is we're generalizing day match queue, which takes a day type as a second argument to have an operator form. So you can make a predicate for any particular day type you want and then just apply it to a date.
So, wait a minute. Day match queue normally is, I see, I see, okay. But the operator form is just for convenience, right? I mean, one could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strictly for convenience. We have a dedicated business day queue function, which is effectively just day match queue of date, comma, business day. But
Hmm.
because that's a pretty frequent test, when we originally introduced those day type functions, we had a dedicated business day queue. And then rather than adding in a bunch of new predicates that are just slight variations of day match queue, we figured having an operator form of it was a nice convenience.
Hmm. Um, okay, okay, good. Holiday calendar data.
So this is our last new functionality change. We have had data about holiday calendars since maybe version 8 or 9, but it used to be in a function called calendar data. And that originally calendar data just had information about holiday calendars. We eventually expanded calendar data to include things about date calendars because that's intuitively what you would think, and that's the natural place to look things up. And then the side effect of that was the information about holiday calendars kind of got lost on the calendar data function page. And so what we're looking at doing is spinning off the functionality about holiday calendars and actually having a dedicated holiday calendar data function.
So, I mean, like Massachusetts has an additional holiday, Patriots Day, April
Hmm.
19th.
Yep.
Okay.
So holiday data would be kind of a sister or a related function, but that's pulling on the entity holiday domain, which exists but isn't super well populated or publicized yet. If you do entity value of holiday, comma sample entities, I think Patriots Day is actually included on that list.
But
Which I know because when I moved to Massachusetts, we moved on Patriots Day, and no one realized it was a banking holiday only in Massachusetts, so we had to wait for a whole day to close on our house.
fair enough. That's a good way to get to have to
Yeah.
remember. Okay.
Mhm.
Then um okay. So well, I mean this all looks sensible, I think.
Okay.
Um I do wonder about those as strings rather than entities, but I guess sort
Yeah,
of
this
okay.
is the old form. What I'd like to do ultimately moving forward is have a proper holiday calendar entity type. So there's sort of this built-in hierarchy right now, right? You say holiday calendar and it gives you United States. And if you ask for United States, it gives you these string variants for the exchanges, or default is basically the national calendar. It would probably be within the modern entity value sense, we would just have a list of entities, and that entity type or that entity canonical form might be United States, comma NYSE for the New York Stock
Yes.
Exchange. But that's something that requires some work on the back end in alpha, or we can kind of fake it out with an entity store locally.
Yeah, no.
Um,
Let's I mean it's something we should slowly get done properly.
yeah, and that's in the works. It just hasn't the alpha curation part of it is taking a bit of time.
Fair enough. Um okay.
And that would let us do things like, say, if I ask for New York Stock Exchange, I can say which holidays are observed there, and it would give me the
Yep,
entity list of
that'll be
those
nice.
holidays. And yeah.
That'll be nice. And it's like banks versus schools versus whatever
Mhm.
else.
Yeah, and there's a
The
couple
whole
of
population.
interesting things like with the stock exchanges, you have regular holidays and then you have specific historical events when, for Ford's funeral, the New York Stock Exchange was closed for that day. It's not a national holiday, it's not a regular holiday, it's one
I
specific
see.
historical event. So you'd kind of have a second class of properties that would be historical events or trading exception days or something like that.
Complicated, but yes, I get it.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, back to geographics.
Right. So,
Da-da-da-da.
Nick, you can stay or you can leave if you want now.
Yeah, I'll hang around for a little bit.
Okay. Uh, so, yes, because I know that you complain about the progress bar in geographics. So it's faster now. So it's still there if you want
No,
to
I
see
don't
it.
complain about the. I complain about the speed, not about the
Right.
progress bar. The progress bar is good.
Okay. So now the first times that you evaluate these maps, there is a time of processing the style. The next times it will not be there.
Why
So
can't we cache that?
it's cached, but the style is updated from time to time. So we want to keep check about it, and we have
We have,
a timing of a week right now. So once per week we download the
mm,
style and process it.
I think we could have much less frequent than that.
Mhm. Yeah,
Don't we have any way of a push thing that just reminds every sort of downloading? I mean, the Packlet system doesn't have that kind of. I mean, we have a mechanism there. Is it a Packlet that we're downloading here?
No, we do it manually, just comparing dates. Francisco and I have been discussing methods, and we have some ideas of how to check that faster. But
I think we really should try to check it faster.
Yeah.
Yes, we have already talked about some ways to improve that much more. Yeah.
So the
these are
first thing,
some new colors.
exactly, we have changed the new colors, and this is something I've always asked for. Our maps looked very yellow, and now I wanted more green. So we have an alternative suggestion further down to see what you
I don't
think.
think this is terrible. I mean, I think
Yeah, I like the green very much. It feels calmer, and I've seen other systems also moving toward greener colors.
well, it's good. The more
But
verdant, as they say. It's anyway green. Never mind.
the
Okay.
important thing is that this is all vector now. If you click, you will be able to process to select the various elements and like
wow.
lines, etc.
So
And
if I click this, why am I not able to? Oh my gosh. Oh, look at that. Huncadorosaurus. Wow. Okay.
yeah, and all lines, all everything is polygons, and
But I think maybe this particular feature of being able to move labels around is something pretty interesting that we should make sure people know about. And I don't know whether we're planning on having an attached cell or anything like that.
well, I don't know much about the editability, but yeah, certainly. I mean, we are planning in the future to offer the user the possibility of controlling the styles of the lines, the polygons.
Sure. Let's
There are
hope.
hundreds of things to control here.
Yes. Okay. Well, this is nice, but again, speed of these vector maps. What can we
Yes.
do?
So we have changed to a new, or we are changing to a new method based on a single file that we have placed in the CDN, and it's more flexible
What the
in
hell
multiple
happened?
ways.
What the hell happened? This is an absolutely standard thing. Eiffel Tower. Better not be a word. What the hell's going on there?
I don't. It's a prototype, so I don't know. That's independent from us.
Let me just get an Eiffel Tower here. Oh. Oh. That's not gonna work. Well, I think I may be missing my Eiffel Tower. That's not gonna work. I wanted to just try some other. Oh, here, let's try something else. Try. Oh, come on.
I put the entity in chat if you just want to copy it.
What's broken here?
I don't know. It's not doing that in my prototype. But
Okay, this
So-
is painfully slow.
Yes, big cities are.
It's got to be faster than that. It's just got to be faster than
Mhm. It is faster than it was by several times, but yes, it could still be faster. Big
really
cities
has
are
to be faster. I
particularly
mean, if we have to with something like this, we should be bringing in a. And by the way, these font sizes.
we have decreased them, but
Right, but they are scaling with the size of the image, which is not obviously correct.
we have discussed that a lot, and in fact we started with the opposite thing, but then it felt strange when you, for example, made the map smaller, and then the labels were super
Well,
big.
I agree, but when they get bigger, it should max out at some size, I think.
Yes, we have asked John Fools about that, and he says it's not possible. It's either fixed or scaling.
Well, maybe we should push that harder because I think we're going to need a solution there.
Yeah, that would be great if that was possible. Yeah, so that example also shows a difficult projection. For example, in the map, I know that Madrid is the antipode of New Zealand. So in that map, New Zealand gets converted into something that is a very, very thin circle around it. You see this gray circle around the whole map?
Which
In that map you are looking at, that has a green circle all around the map, which is super thin.
That's New Zealand.
That's New Zealand. Because it's the antipode of Madrid is the antipode of Madrid is in New Zealand. So New Zealand gets super flat there. That's very difficult to get right.
But we have it right now.
Exactly. So there are still bugs, and I'm sure that if we evaluate maps, we will find some, but I'm working on them. But this new vector engine is a lot better.
Good. do I want to? No, I don't want to. I don't want to set this. I don't ever want that progress. The progress is fine.
Well, for the manipulate, it's a bit inconvenient. So this is a way to zoom out, and then you see the very well.
I don't think that I mean, I think it's just as well that there's a progress monitor, because otherwise I would have no idea what was going on.
So that's a way to go all the way out, and it's doing orthographic projections all the time.
Why is there a scale? I mean, it's probably reasonable, but why is there a scale on the zoomed out one and not a scale on the zoomed in one? Oh, there is a scale there, but there was not a scale, or maybe I just missed it. Oh, there is a scale. It's just all a row.
There should be always one. And
Maybe we should use our haloing effect to be able to make the scale visible in a case like this.
Yes, we want to use haloing a lot more. Yeah, yes, it's working in Astro, but in Geo we haven't plugged it yet. But we certainly want.
Okay, cool. All right, what's next?
Okay, so we have added a bunch of new styles, and now I let Tim explain.
Okay, where do I start?
Okay. Oh, that's just giving basic info. All these maps, I rasterize them because of the size, to keep the file
right
size
now,
down.
for right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead and click that. And this is basically comparing all the new defaults. Well, new default, and the first one, it's got light and dark versions for them. The second one, the vector plot base, that's kind of the intention is for visualizations.
Okay.
Okay.
So how do we get to these? Is this a plot theme?
No, it's if you
Geo background.
Oh, it's a geo background.
Geo background. Yeah, if you open the code for that one, you can see it's just vector style. See the geo background vector style, and then it's just one of the vector names.
I don't think. Go ahead.
No, you don't need to use the vector style actually. That was a developer stage, but you don't need to use that anymore.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And since vector is going to be our default going forward, I don't think we have to say vector all over the place. I think we should say, default dark, or default dark,
plot base dark, etc.
Yeah, except I don't really like the term plot base.
Actually, something that I was going to mention further down is that it would be nice if the light dark mode produced the right thing. So we could have, for example, a default light before dark, and then default chooses the right or the appropriate.
Yeah, it should be a light dark switched thing.
Well, at the time of producing the map, it would choose the right one. Yes.
Exactly. We're using light dark switched. Right, light dark switched is the mechanism in the front end.
Yes, but at the moment we haven't propagated all those colors through all those styles. That's something we can do like that. Yes, but at least when the map is produced, it would have the right.
Yeah, I get it. I'm not sure. Well, that flow need to talk to somebody in the front end team to understand. I understand. I think you can use light dark switched. I think. Well, I'm not sure, because that's a thing of the front end that will render with different colors depending on which mode you're in.
Yes. Yes. Eventually, we really want that. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The black white there, that does need haloing, which we do not have right now. And black white is white black is the flip version of black white.
I see it.
So
okay. So look. What are we calling? I mean, right now. Okay. I think we should remove the word vector from these things, okay, and put something else, raster or something like that on the rasterized ones, or bitmap. Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay.
But is that consistent with our current design, or is there something compatible change happening in that case?
Well, I think we should support the old names too.
I agree completely.
Yeah, but then we can document the new ones moving forward.
Yeah, I'm not sure we need the to add the raster wording to all the style. We didn't have many. So satellite is obviously raster, so why add a raster of satellite? Right.
Yeah, okay, fine.
So probably we can simply remove the vector here and it would use whatever it's
Okay.
better.
So default dark, is that what you'd get in dark mode, or is that not at all what you'd get in dark mode?
That's exactly what you would get in dark mode.
Okay,
Do you,
fine.
do you have the light dark switcher palette?
I probably don't, but
Yep.
okay, all right.
Yeah,
then
because
the
it looks
default,
it looks different in dark mode, but that is the exact same colors.
okay, default dark. I don't like the term plot base. I think it's sort of a two-step cognitive thing. What is it really? And do we have Jeremy here?
No, but I told
don't
him
think so.
to be ready.
Okay, so let's ask him to join.
Geoplot.
What's that?
Geoplot.
No, I don't think so. I think what we want is something that is, it's like people talk about base maps and so on, but this kind of, I mean, it's bland in some way. It's colorless, except it isn't colorless because it's got blue.
Yeah, well, and it does have some color, but it's basically the vector the default colors, except everything's just faded out, and it doesn't have green. It starts with gray and ends with gray for the background.
Yeah. What can we call this? You understand what I'm looking for? Is some word that reflects, it's
Basic.
Somehow you need to tie it to the visualizations, though, right?
Almost feels like a vector background.
you think like background, like just calling it background.
Well, but
No,
will
it
be
is
all.
geo background.
Exactly. Your background goes to background.
Plane. Light. And that's got to have dark here.
I like plain.
Featureless. What's that?
I like plain. We had
Okay.
another one called minimal.
Is that this or is that not this?
This is a new one here.
Well, so should we make minimal be this one?
Well, they're a little different. And the vector classic that I have there, it's to show as you start looking at some of their zooms, you'll notice a difference between the original vectors and these new vectors I did. And it's about the content that's in them, not only the style.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, don't we need one that doesn't have any labels on it?
Well, the visualizations automatically take the labels off.
What do we want them on?
Well, you can turn them on.
How?
Uh,
Geo labeling arrow true?
I'm not sure.
Is that right?
Well, you can always force having the labels by combining. There is a vector labels.
I don't believe in that. Isn't there a geo labeling arrow true, false, whatever?
There is a geo labels, yes, but it's more to control what the visualization functions add about labels. So geolabels is currently something for the geo visualization functions, not for geographics.
But we need a way to control the label density somehow.
Yes. I mean, Francisco and I have an internal method option to add or remove labels, but it's too internal. I agree we need an external way in geographics.
Yeah.
And then that would be inherited by all the geo functions.
So what is the way we specify the geo background? Is it just geo background?
Yes.
Arrow, whatever.
Exactly. It can be geostyling, and then you can put many options there, or it can be a list of geostylings, and then they are kind of put one on top of the other. You can put opacity in between.
So somehow geostyling needs, I mean, could we give geostyling a geolabels option?
We could. Yes.
That would be my suggestion. And then we want dense, sparse, probably.
Oh, to control how many labels you have.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
None, automatic, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And arguably, geolabels, arrow, dense and sparse should also, I mean, this whole business about discretionary labeling,
Mm-hmm.
needs development in a bunch of places. There are a bunch of things, and this is for Brett really. I mean, there are a bunch of things where I think this notion of dense and sparse labeling will be nice. There are cases where you just don't want to see a lot of labels, and there are cases like a feature space plot where you sometimes want lots of labels and sometimes you just don't want very many.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Where the trade-off is if you've got lots, there'll be overlapping labels and all kinds of weird stuff like that, but everything will be labeled. And sometimes that's what you want. And sometimes you'd prefer to have it just have a few, a dipping of labels in there without too much.
And we have the internal parameters to control these dense or sparse labels, by the way.
Okay, so let's expose it.
Yeah, maybe it's not
Bring
that
it
easy
up.
to expose, but yeah, sure.
Okay, so going back to this. So I mean, I'm wondering, I think it's pretty common to want these base things without labels.
That reminds me of a test where they put students to guess what geographic region was what.
Yeah.
And a very high percentage of American students couldn't place America.
Yeah,
So
well.
Don Knut was so upset about that he gave us a test.
Well, I was dealing with some middle school kids a while ago who didn't know that Chicago was a city and not a state. So go figure.
Right.
In the original raster geographics, we had street map and street map no labels. So that's another possibility to have no labels versions.
I think we should do that. Yeah, I do think we should do that.
For each one or just that plot-based one?
Well, that would be plain no labels and plain labels. I think we should have it for each one. I don't see why not. Or unless we think that it's good enough to have a geolabels option.
I think it's cleaner to have in the names.
All right,
So
fine.
you don't have to write more. And it's very easy internally to convert to anything we want internally.
Okay, all right. Okay, so then black, white, white, black. Fine. Ocean black. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I assume when you zoom in on this, you're going to show this in a minute. Minimal gray and classic. Those are good. Okay, let's look at some more zooms.
Yeah, these are all just different zooms.
It's good.
Now here you see a difference with the classic. It has roads on it.
Yes, some elements now appear a bit later in zoom level. Also, the green tone changes as you zoom in. It's less intense.
Yeah, that's good.
It's
So
still,
then
yeah, it's still green there, but then as you zoom in, it'll actually get gray. There, it's starting to fade out, that green, and then it'll go to gray, and probably the next one.
Well, wait a minute. For plain, I really don't want roads.
Well, if you zoom in quite a lot, it should be there, right? Perhaps we can make them stand out less, be less
Yeah,
colorful.
I think so. For the plain,
Or appear later, maybe, too.
possibly.
Mm.
But even I think fading them down would be good. And I really, really don't think we need these giant things here.
Those are reduced in size. They're like 70% of the previous size.
Well, I reckon they're fine here, but I reckon for plain you should take them down even further.
There is another
so-
style
so-
called monochrome.
No, but maybe shields should be removed for this plain stuff, and that's it.
Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
so. I don't think so. I think it's very, very obscure what's going on if you don't know road names.
Okay.
I see.
But I think you can go smaller with them, another 70%, of this perhaps.
So only in this style, reduce the size of these shields.
That's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That's a mess.
Yeah, that certainly
We
need
need-
haloing.
We need haloing. Yeah.
But I would suggest another thing. I would suggest that the roads should be gray here. You say it's black white style.
Yeah,
How
it's
can they be
black.
gray?
Yeah.
But I think they can be gray. I mean, I think you really don't want this. This is a mess. Well, let me
See,
look
I was wondering when we get haloing, it's going to look totally different.
well, let's try it with, I'm sure we can simulate it
'Cause-
with haloing.
Okay.
I still think the roads are going to want to be gray. I think it's going to look pretty decent with the roads in gray. Yeah. I think we should do that.
Because the borders are in gray. So, which I didn't really have.
What borders? You mean the
Like-
halo borders?
Like right here, you can, well, like on the white black one, you see that line that's on the right side edge. That's an actual border.
This here.
Yeah. And I made that gray instead of black because you have to see it on white and you have to see it on black. So
What about a dotted line? Or is that too much, call too much attention to it?
we can try it.
You mean dotted or dashed with white and black?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at these. Boy, those roads are big. Should they really be that thick?
One thinner. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is what I was telling you before, Tim.
Okay.
They look better here, but here they're just, I think, a bit too thick. And arguably, that's
See,
not.
they're the same thickness. It's just a different color there.
No, I understand, but I think you can, in both cases you can go down a bit.
Okay.
Well, it's beginning to look better in the I think you should try making the roads a bit gray, but perhaps not too gray in this case. I think this is going to look really good. This if you grade them down a bit here.
Okay.
Okay, so you have less detail. Yeah, I think the new one looks fine. By the way, I don't know whether these ferry routes are a good idea in most cases. Well, let's not worry about it right now, I guess. Let's just reduce the sizes.
Okay.
looks pretty reasonable.
Now, are those street sizes okay once you get down to there?
They're better. Yeah, I think, I mean, they're somewhat realistic sized. They're not oversized. I mean, the other ones, they're oversized, right? At this zoom level, I mean, I don't know, how wide is the street here relative to what it actually is? I mean, if we look at the satellite map of the same place, is it going to look similar or not?
Yes, I think so, because also you can see that the border of the buildings are aligned with
Yeah.
this street side.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is fine. So long as that, I mean, you never need to make a street sort of smaller than it actually is.
Yeah,
So then-
anyway, street sizes are computed from the type of street more than the actual size of the street, you know.
Yeah.
So highways are wider than service roads, for example.
Right. Okay, let's look at some more of this. This is looking pretty good.
Okay, this is a hybrid map.
Beautiful.
That's the satellite image, and I did some image processing on it.
Looks really
And
nice.
we're thinking we could maybe use that to replace the land until we got down to zoom 6.
I like this very much. I think it looks great. Let's take a look.
See, and then between zoom 5 and zoom 6, it shows zoom 5, 5.5, and 6. It actually fades away and goes just to the green. And then Paris right below there shows it over Paris.
So this is the idea of multiple layers, of having two maps blended.
Yeah. I mean, my only concern is that, you know, the type of green, it's sort of unfortunate because you kind of like that verdant green on the left, so to speak. Is Jeremy with us?
I am, yeah. The hue changes, right, when you go from the image to the vector
To the
layer.
vector, yeah.
But the image processing you've done, if you look around the world, is it always that same kind of verdant green everywhere? Or what does it look like? What does the Sahara look like? Can I run this?
Yeah, I think so. Should be able to.
Okay. What's
grab-
this? How do I do
You can
this?
just grab the code that's open up that cell. And then look at the code and then just change. Right now it's on Eiffel Tower. You can just change that entity.
Somebody get me the entity for Timbuktu. Ah, I got it.
Oh.
I mean, I assume it's going to be yellow. And then I'm going to do Kathmandu. That's lovely. Are you sure we shouldn't just have a washed out version of these colors at these high zoom levels? Maybe it's silly. I mean, those things, those image processor things, they're beautiful. I really like them.
It would be difficult to get like a common color for all the world, right? So this,
Yeah, it's some median between desert and grass at that point, right?
Yeah.
They're not distinguishing. I do think it's too bluish. The hue should shift towards the yellow, which would help.
Which is what we had before.
but before it was very yellow.
Yeah,
So,
it was yellow.
I mean, it could change a little bit.
Maybe if it's closer, let's just try experimenting a bit. I mean, so this is.
Yeah, I'll just take that green and make it a little.
I mean,
towards the
even
yellow
this
side.
green, I think, is less.
See,
Oh,
that's
I know
starting to
how.
that's starting to fade to gray. See how it fades to gray there?
Yeah,
That's fading out.
this is lovely, I think. The way this works, the way these look is really great.
Okay,
Mhm.
so I'll just get that green to match better.
I think so. Think so. I mean, I don't know how much one would notice it because it's kind of like you're doing one zoom level or another, but I think it would be better.
Well,
I
you'll
do
see it.
too. I think you'll notice it, I think.
You'll notice that between 5 and 6, if you just do zoom 5 and zoom 6, it'll be a shock.
Yeah.
That's another
Well,
thing we can do is zoom, spread it out over 2 zooms instead of just one.
how would we do that?
Well, I can do it in the JSON file.
No, I understand, but what do you mean by spread it out?
The blending would last longer. Like zoom 5 there, that would be zoom 4. Zoom 5.5 would be zoom 5, and then you'd have zoom 6.
I see. So you're saying when
Spreading
you
the blend.
blend it,
Mhm.
there's a point at which you are fully blended and there's no satellite anymore.
Right. That's what zoom 6 is right now. There is
Yeah,
no
I can see
satellite.
that. Right. So I agree with you. Having a tentacle of the satellite, if it's efficient enough, having a little hint of the satellite will be great.
Well, downloading the images is faster, but it's going to add a little bit of time.
Yeah. Well,
See, I just mailed you a comparison, just a hue shift for that grain.
yeah, okay, let's take a
I
look.
think it'll be good enough.
Oh, that's your new hue shift.
Yeah, I think it matches better. It's much lighter, but it matches the hue.
I agree. Tim?
Yeah, it's just taking the brightness out is basically what we're doing.
The hue changes.
Okay. And satellite, Lee, let me just do something here. I'm doing my world tour here.
So that's another thing. Our satellite tiles are very
Oops.
dark, so these are being processed.
Yeah, which is really nice.
Yeah, I like it very much too.
Now you should be able to get this something that's more satellite-y. What the hell is that?
Wow, what's many?
What's
Oh,
that?
that's because it's using the polygon, because I'm not the
Oh,
center. So maybe your position wrapper around to value to get the will
yeah.
have it better.
So it's unloading a very large image.
What is it doing?
It's unloading a very large image for that region.
So the geo range for all the maps is going to be the same. That's the problem in this case. We are not going to get this zoom effect.
Oh. Oh. So what should I have done?
Wrap your position around the Tuvalu country, for example, or get the center.
When is this? Why is that coming up there?
We were discussing that. I think it's because it's using the image, but even though you can't see it.
Well, then we need to figure that out.
Yeah, we need to figure it out.
Number of requested tiles is too large. Well, okay, so it probably plooped out. That's fairly amusingly buggy what just happened there. I mean, not really a bug, but
Well, there is a limit on the number of.
what the hell? I don't understand what happened here. Why
So
are we not zooming on Tuvalu? Oh, because maybe Tuvalu, the center of Tuvalu is
Outside this. Yeah, yes, probably we should use the
okay.
city.
What's
Yeah.
the city? Okay, capital of Tuvalu. That might not be working. If I was more educated, I would immediately know what it is. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I see. So the blue is, why is the blue getting more intense in that final one?
It's the blue does fade as the blue at the world view gets
I see.
lighter as
Okay,
it
all right,
gets
okay,
zooms
fine.
in.
It's kind of amusingly hopeless. Okay, I'm just gonna try one more. Anybody got another suggestion for a world? I'm gonna try two more things just for I just want to see more ocean stuff, and then I want to see Antarctica. Actually, the Arctic. Apart from this weird thing, which is very strange. This is lovely.
We have a special code to keep the credits, and I think something is getting confused.
Yeah. I mean, that's just when we have an actual satellite image.
Yes, I think this code is simply blending with one of them being 0, but it still wants to keep the credits, even though.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, but if it's light enough, I just don't think it's relevant. I mean, if it's just
Exactly. Yeah.
the oh, yeah, that
Yeah,
looks lovely.
But probably at some we should simply stop getting the tiles for
Mhm.
satellite, and that's it.
Yep.
Yeah. But also, yeah, okay. Let me just the North Pole is 0, 0, correct?
No, that's Null Island. That's in
Oh,
Africa.
no, sorry. What is it? So it's 90.
90. Now, which projection is this?
There is no projection, I think, so it might work.
Well, let's see what it uses. Didn't work.
Well,
Oh, I
I'd
see.
say that was a
Yes.
bit of a mess.
Yes. So this is because the data is Mercator data. So we don't have data on the poles actually.
Then let's put something there. I think
Right.
it's all
We have to
white.
fake it.
Yeah.
Yes. So that part of the code failed here.
Okay. Who knows a place in Antarctica like McMurdo Station or something? Anybody?
I don't know.
Dang. Okay, come on. A location in Antarctica. Okay, minus 86, 0. Is this going to fail in the same way? I'm trying to avoid it actually being at the pole.
Yeah, well, actually the limit is 85, right? Well, 85 point something.
Oh, that's where the
Yes, and near the pole, because of the concentration of meridians, you always need a lot of tiles to get it right
I see.
in images.
Okay, so there might be some messing around with the poles. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Why is that failing?
The limit is in 256.
Okay, but I don't understand why 82 just doesn't seem that big. Well, let's look at okay, when this has gone through, let's look at something else. Oh, for God's sake. Well, should I give up here? No. It's getting fairly confused. Should I give up?
I think so.
I got two more questions. what happens on the moon?
It's certainly going to fail. I guess I mean, ideally it should try to go directly to satellite.
Yeah, presumably. Not a lot of cities to show there. Okay, what's happening? No, why is it so many tiles? I mean,
Well,
maybe there needs to be, I mean,
It's-
could you not recenter the projection or something? That's really weird. Okay, why is there so much, why are these this shape?
I cannot say. Certainly we need to test more near the poles.
Yeah, okay. Okay, but here, now I don't understand, why are these borders not, I don't understand. These look like they're bitmapped. Everything looks bitmapped.
Because there is a rasterize. Maybe you should have
that-
removed that before.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
I
is
see, there's a
this is
rasterizing.
rasterized. Yeah.
But you can remove that here and get that.
Yeah.
I want to see this just for,
Second time should be faster because you can check. So.
I understand.
If you want, you can just do one map.
I'm just going to, oh, for God's sake. Help.
So there's an image size with that. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, I can.
and then you need to, yeah, the image size automatic 420 to get rid of that. The second one. Yeah.
Now that is nice. That is very nice. Cool. Yeah, you really don't notice the fact that this is fuzzy because obviously it is really fuzzy in the sense that, you know, you get what I'm saying. I mean, it's
Is there any cost to adding glow or something to the text?
well, we're talking about that. Yeah, we want to do that. We want to add haloing to that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, this looks like a big win. All good.
So this was just to show the list. We have 16 right now.
Okay,
in-
we just defined a few others.
Right, exactly. So, right.
By the way, before now the visualization functions use strip map non-labels as base map.
And
Okay.
now we're using the vector.
Yeah, this is the vector background.
Look at those 10 dots. What the heck are they doing? See that? Times 10 dots to the 8. Come on, guys. That's a Brett thing, I think.
Yes,
Do you see those?
yes.
So
Mhm.
who's going to deal with that, reporting that, please?
I'll send it to Brett.
Okay, but he needs to actually take action, do something, okay? And needs to be in the next graphics improvement meeting. He needs to tell me what he did. Are these colors some kind of default colors, or are they just
Yeah, yeah, they're the default colors that are there now.
for a geodensity plot?
Yes.
They're not bad.
Each one's different. But now it focuses on the actual visualization colors instead of, because before I always had troubles with the map colors, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
conflicting with them.
wild about this. This is a bit play schooly in terms of colors, I think. I'm not wild about those colors for the geovector. I don't know what vector plot is. Vector plot using these colors?
Yes, exact same thing.
it's not 100% obvious to me that GeoVector plot should be exactly the same colors as vector plot. It could be the same general palette, but I just feel like
The yellows are disappearing compared to the dark blues. Doesn't seem right.
yeah, because I mean a vector plot is going to be on white or black typically, whereas this we know it's going to be on blue or yellow or green or something, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need some adjustment to this. I think it can be comparatively subtle, and the general palette can be the same. Make sense?
Yep.
Now, I think here, again, same issue, is are there colors that merge into that background color? Seems not too much. This looks pretty good to me. No, those are the default colors for the first few,
Yeah.
whatever.
The first
Yeah, they look great.
4.
Looks
I
great.
think, yeah. And that one I showed on the road, so you can see how the roads are faded, so
I
they
think it
don't
looks great.
take over the image.
I don't have any problem with this. Jeremy, any comments?
No, looks good.
Yeah, this is the only one that bothers me. I would somehow make these colors a bit more, I don't know, are you darkening them in this case? But obviously you've got to go to dark mode. In dark mode, they've got to be lightened, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, this is just a chart to kind of show you what's involved with, that's all the layers.
Yeah,
And
it's a lot of
kind
work.
of shows you what, and I could tell that green, that's the background color. And then see how it fades out.
Yep.
It shows you what it's going to look like on that background color.
Yeah, this is nice. So what we need to do, we got to parameterize all of this stuff, obviously.
Right.
But I think some of these we can combine, like, road arrow left tunnel and things like that. We probably,
Right.
bunch of these we should just bucket them into roads and, railways and things like this.
Right.
We
We
don't
need
need
a
to know.
hierarchy.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure maybe we have some raw way of getting down to this level. But also, I have no idea whether a road tertiary tunnel ramp is, there may only be one of those in the world. See what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yes.
Um,
So we are not planning to expose these yet. So we will do statistics to see which ones are more important, etc.
yeah, right. But I would just bucket them into
Mhm.
big buckets.
Yep. And that's basically what I did with the styling.
Yeah.
I didn't go through and color, like especially the roads, those are
Sure. No, but
basic.
I think that if you say, I mean, I don't know, we can have a color for water, fine. I don't know whether we can have a color for, water with a lake and ocean, whatever else, right?
Yeah. See, you notice those all
No,
inherit
that's
the
for the
water
names.
color. Yeah.
These are for the names.
Oh, I see. So these are hierarchical names. So water,
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So is there a place, a pure place here?
No.
No. Okay, but fine. But we could make a higher level in the hierarchy. See what I'm saying? So that we only
Actually,
name.
there are some, let's say, so for customizing them, we can use also the actual layers because all these belong to different layers. Like, for example, transportation, the roads.
Okay, fine. All right. Okay,
So
fine.
there are already some natural groups, let's say. So we
Okay,
can take
well, let's
advantage
start.
of that.
We should start working on that. I mean, this shouldn't be too hard to do, but we obviously, in my opinion, we should end up with a dozen-ish sort of things you can set.
Sure. But it's not that. So it's a lot of manual curation first, as you can
No,
see.
I get it. I get it. Nice stuff. Okay.
Okay, so this is something completely different.
Yes.
So this is a function that we discussed several years ago. And at that time, I was calling it georotate. You didn't like it. And so now we are proposing a new name, geomove.
And how is it related to the geodesic move that we were just talking about a couple of days ago?
Exactly. So that's the next section, actually.
Oh,
So yes, have you opened that one? So I think I've removed, oh yes. So GeoMove tries to move a polygon or a position or something, or a line, keeping the orientation with respect to north and keeping the shape. So this is something that I see very frequently in the internet, people comparing like the US with China or something in terms of size, moving one on top of the other.
mhm.
And then, so this is the function that would do it. Now, geodisplacement and geodestination, what would do is to take each point of the boundary and apply the same displacement. But that's going to distort the country to see what is happening there.
Yes.
This is what we were saying the other day. It's different points original, but apply the same displacement. So same distance, same angle initially.
Right. So this one is, I mean, there is a projection in which this thing translated to this point will still look the same. Correct?
A projection. Well,
what is
it's
the transformation? If I simply take this and I add numbers to lat long, is that what this is doing or not?
No, what it's doing, the gray one in the previous image, it's a rotation. So this is just rotating. It's selecting a 3D rotation and rotating.
I see.
Right.
I see.
But the other one, so that's like a complete transformation of the whole object. And rotations will not distort the shape or the orientation. But here you see the displacement point by point. It's even flipping, right? So now Florida is on the top.
I don't even understand that. I don't understand why the point rotations, I mean, like rotation angles, which are delta, theta, delta, phi, for theta and phi being lat long, I assume.
What you need 3 angles in general, right? A 3-dimensional rotation is 3 angles.
Okay. Is it
so
like,
you can think of them as the selection of the axis and then the angle around that axis.
So you're sliding it around the globe.
Right.
You know,
I don't know. I mean, we've got different 3D rotation things with Euler angles, etc.
Right. But they all, you know, I mean, in principle, you can give an axis and one angle.
Yeah, in the end, it's a rotation.
Right.
And
but you can think of it as also just sliding it around the globe, right? Let's say you slide the US over Africa, and you'll see that it fits in top of Africa. It's like,
right.
But most people have never seen that because they've seen a projection where their own region is usually big and everything else is usually small.
Right. So the original, Wegener or whatever his name was is continental drift of South America fits into Africa. It's a good question. I mean, it wouldn't put past lots of science stuff to have been people doing things with the wrong, like saying Greenland fits into wherever because that's how it works on a Mercator projection.
Right.
You're probably right.
That's in the previous example. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you can run the previous examples. So that's the actual GeoMove, which I think is the one.
Okay, hold on. This is, oh, that's Greenland. Okay, great.
Right. So that will move in longitude.
Okay,
and
when
then
it stays in Mercator, it stays the same size.
Exactly. But the other one is the more impressive one.
That's interesting. My God.
Isn't it? This is super interesting. I can tell you how many of these I've seen, and I'm sending them to our geographics
the same size
list.
as the Gulf of America, right?
So you see how it takes like 2 lines. I chose the distance in degrees.
Wow.
So
I
it
really
always
had
takes
no idea. So Greenland is kind of the height of the US, basically.
I think many people do not have the right intuition here.
Well, yes.
Yes, the standard comparison is Greenland versus Africa. They look similar, but one of them is like 13 times bigger than the other.
Yeah.
Well, actually, and comparing it to India is sort of interesting. Wow. Okay. Well, I learned something. Okay. Okay. Well, that's cool. Now, what is this? This is a geoposition. I see. This is taking a central geoposition.
Exactly. and moving to the other, preserving. So the third angle I was talking about is preserved by what's called rectification, which is keep the orientation with respect to north.
Okay.
So this is an equal area projection, and so it looks the same size all the time.
Well, I mean, these should end up in the demonstrations project, among other things.
Mhm.
These actual I hate the term geomove. I mean, this concept is great, but geomove is like about as confusing as it could possibly be, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's one step better than georotation, but
yeah.
yeah, if you have a better name, I think that would
Well,
be
I
great.
think that it's like translate, right? I mean,
It's no, I mean, it's both translation and rotation, right? I mean,
okay,
I
what are we
also
going to
thought
call this on a
translation.
sphere? When we do all our spherical geometry stuff, what will we call it there?
Well, the important thing is that this takes a rotation. That's why I tended to call it georotate. The second argument can be various forms of rotations, including rotation metrics.
I see.
The previous time, it's interesting because several years ago, you immediately went for geotranslate as well. And I didn't like it because it's a rotation, which is precisely the complementary of the
Yes,
translation.
I
So a possibility is to absorb this in geodestination. It's just that we need a notation to specify that you are moving point to point and then dragging the whole thing.
But hold on, let's talk about hyperbolic space for a second. I mean, won't we need a similar kind of transformation? Well, what would we need in hyperbolic space?
Well, in hyperbolic space, there are also rotations.
Yes.
There will be hyperbolic rotations, and they will have a similar effect to this in that space.
Okay.
But I understand that people are not going to look for rotations to displace, to move, to transport. I don't know.
Well, let's think about it for a second. I mean, so this is, what are people going to think of this as?
You moving a country over another country?
I mean, geo-coordinate transform or something like that.
And the reason I said came up with move is because move is basically in general Euclidean rigid transformations. So you can have translations and rotations.
Okay, but I'm going to make a claim. Does this return something? Does geomove return something, or does it stay unevaluated?
It does return something. So you feed a polygon, returns another polygon, or a geoposition.
So what about something like, maybe that isn't quite right, but something like that, or coordinate translation or something. Go ahead.
A transform feels very powerful, like you are going to specify a fully general transformation. And this is just rotations.
But we could do a general transformation.
We could. I mean, we could have something that performs projections. It has been suggested previously, in the sense that we have to call geogrid position to perform projections on things.
I mean, a general transformation, I don't know how we would specify. What do we do? Geometric transform, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of analogous to this. I mean, geocoordinate.
That's a full affine yes. One.
Which we don't care about here.
Right.
See, there's something fake about taking Greenland and sticking it in Borneo. I mean, see what I'm saying? It's like we're taking the coordinates and we're making this transformation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of partial to geocoordinate rotate. Is that obviously stupid? I mean, in other words, if I take this.
I gotta go. I'm sure you'll come up with something great.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
I like geocoordinate rotate. Because again, it's just taking the coordinates. It's not taking Greenland. You know, no rocks are being moved.
But isn't it the same when we do rotate or some other transformations, rotation, transform?
Yeah, but those are on abstract objects. Geo is concrete stuff. We're taking a concrete thing, namely Greenland.
And you prefer geocoordinate than geoposition rotate, right?
I'm not sure. That's not silly either. Geoposition rotate.
So the only problem with geoposition rotate is that maybe user
Is it
will
the right
expect
way
to
round? What's that?
no, that the user will expect the first argument to be a geoposition and not a polygon, for example.
It can be a geoposition too.
No, I know, but maybe
I think that's okay. I mean,
I
so long as the
yeah,
rotation.
I certainly prefer geoposition rotate to geocoordinate rotate because we don't have any other coordinate functions yet in the.
Fine.
My only pick is it doesn't look like the inputs are rotations, right? They're two geopositions.
Well, because that's a specification. Can you open the ref page?
I'm just saying to a user, the inputs look like don't
No,
look
I know,
like
but
rotations.
there are multiple different
Okay.
kinds of inputs.
Yeah.
Including for rotation matrix, you can specify this as well, can't you? Can you specify a lat long goes to a lat long in the rotation matrix?
No.
You probably should be able to. That would be useful. I would have used that.
Yeah, I think rotation matrix requires the. Oh, well, now that I'm thinking, yes, it does take point and point, but a pair.
Well, that's what this is. Point and a point.
Exactly. Yes. Sorry, it is that I was
But does
thinking
it do
about
it with
the
an
word.
arrow notation and things like that?
No, it's a pair. In rotation matrix, you can specify a pair.
We should probably allow the syntax with an arrow as well.
So
Right,
the first
so it can
one,
rotate.
right. So the first one is a rotation of angle alpha around the point pos.
Which is also supported in the rotation matrix.
Yes, that's the angle axis. Yes.
But is it exactly the same in a rotation matrix?
It may be reversed. It's rotation matrix alpha comma vector, I think. Yes, theta comma W.
Yeah, so UV is the point to point.
Exactly. Yeah, vector to vector. Right. There is the final notation that's also interesting. It's you don't rotate the whole thing when you go
to the plane. Yeah. Mac or live stream is commenting, it should be clear that it's a shape being moved, but it isn't necessarily a shape. It can just be a point.
Could there be a one argument geoposition? I mean, so you don't have to know the current geoposition. You just know where you want to move it to.
Yes, you could move the center.
Yeah,
you could have
that's
something
based on
automatic
geocenter.
arrow.
Yeah.
Geoposition would just move the center to that geoposition.
I see.
Maybe that should be
geocentroid.
automatic to that's keyword. So
No, I'm saying automatic to geoposition.
yes.
Or just the geoposition would move the centroid.
Okay. Yeah, that can be added. Yeah, that would be useful to move everything to the same point, so everything is on top of each other.
What do you mean? You mean of a list of things or something?
Exactly. You want to compare all countries.
Oh boy. Listable. That's pretty funky. Is that what the listability should do? It shouldn't rigidly rotate the cluster of countries?
Well, I was thinking of mapping.
Oh, I see. Mapping would be fine. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
But if there is a list in that first argument, it should rigidly rotate all of those countries together.
Exactly. Yes.
So the centroid of those countries.
Mhm.
I'm not totally sold on geoposition rotate, but something like that.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm also a little worried that's backwards. The geoposition rotate. Well, I guess not.
Was transform ruled out as
Yeah,
opposed
but
to
it's too
translate?
general. It's too
Yeah.
general.
It could be
Really?
rotate geoposition, like random geoposition.
Possibly. What do you think of that? It's a little weird. Go ahead.
Georeposition.
That's interesting.
It's weird but interesting. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
I think it's interesting because I think it's a funky operation and it needs a funky name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, me too.
We got a winner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, and these possible extensions, I was just thinking about combinations. Like for example, this manipulate adds this third rotation I was talking about.
Boy, I think I'm getting too hungry here.
So you have now, that's the same, those are the same two, and the other one, the alpha, is the new one.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So those are the three freedoms in a 3D rotation.
So that's the north. Well, I think georeposition is a good name for this. It's totally weird. I agree that how are you specifying this?
So right now I'm combining them. You see those two geomoves nested?
Yes.
I was thinking that we may invent a notation, like again, a pair rule, comma angle. Or
Well,
something
why
like
isn't it just like rotation here? Oh, it's not this.
So it will be currently it will be hard from the two positions and the angle to come up with that matrix, right? Jose, that's the point.
Yeah, but also, why is it different? Is this an inside out, outside in type thing between rotation matrix and this georeposition thing?
Well, you can always put a rotation matrix in the second argument, and then you have full freedom there.
I get it, but I'm just trying to understand this point-to-point thing. You know, we've got point-to-point in the third usage case of rotation matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is that a general rotation? The point-to-point specification. What's that?
In 3D, it is. In 4 dimensions, it is not. In 4 dimensions, you have two independent planes of rotation. So,
okay, but we're doing 3D on the Earth.
Exactly. So rotation matrix.
How come we have this additional? We have the additional freedom because it's for a cluster of points. It's not for a single point. Is that the reason?
You're discussing the last one?
No, I'm talking about this, the A parameter that you have. The reason we have an additional alpha parameter here is because if this was a single point, there'd be no rotation to do here.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's because we're doing something which isn't even possible for a rotation matrix. It's just the matrix which moves points to points.
Exactly. Yep. You can put the rotation matrix in a rotation transform and then apply the rotation transform to primitives with geometric transform.
Yeah, and that will look similar to the previous example, this one that distorts US, for example, right? So if you apply point by point.
Geodestination and geodisplacement are like this separation of the action and the operation.
Yeah, so look, I get it. So I mean, there's a there's a point-to-point transformation, and then there's a region-to-region transformation, which is a bit different.
Right.
And so we have to specify how to transform the region.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be more than just one number, isn't it?
3. The general case is 3.
So, I mean, to me, it seems like that's either a third argument or it's a list, second argument with an additional list, which is what you have there, where you're using a single number, which is the northward rotation, but you could have more stuff there.
Right.
If there were 3 parameters, what would they be?
Well, in that case in that case, we already have the 3, lat, ln, alpha. What I'm saying is that we could have a notation which is point to point, comma, alpha.
Yeah. I get it. Right.
So it's a final rotational alpha around the final point.
Yes, I understand. I think I'm a little too burnt out here to figure this out. I think we should pick this up, but we're really close here.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And this is simple. This is just 2 new formats: Geo, TopoJSON, and then GML, which is a very general one, including 3-dimensional things. And Alfonso found a place with the shape of buildings in the US. And so that's, unfortunately, they have like common heights rather than different heights. So that's around Wolfram.
I'm sorry, what?
So do you see that building in the middle?
Yeah.
So that's Wolfram. And
Okay.
so that we see the hotel a bit to the right.
That's cool. Okay. And you are somewhere right there or something, whatever it is.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep.
So it's just a new format, but it's a bit more powerful format than usual for you because it accepts 3D.
Yes. Yes. An interesting question. What on earth happens to all our rendering, colors and rendering and so on in 3D?
Mm-hmm. You're talking about the regions functionality?
So yes, what I'm talking about, all these colors, all these greens and things. I'm just saying we can imagine rendering. It's irrelevant. I mean, the GML could be brought into, presumably. I mean, I don't know. Presumably the satellite maps are some kind of KML. I don't know what they are, but I don't know. No, what is it? I'm not sure I know what I'm talking about, but these satellite maps are 2D.
I
Never
see.
mind. Yeah.
Do you want to merge the information of the satellite here?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be difficult, but
yeah, right.
But
right. And also
eventually.
the satellite has this weird. We're not even going there yet.
No.
A building in an aerial photograph has a bizarre projection.
Right. Exactly.
It's very interesting geometry, but we're not going there yet.
Yep.
Okay. Wonderful. I mean, look, maybe we just take the 1 minute to try and see if we can nail this. So you're saying there's one additional rotation parameter, and that's
Right.
it. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, why don't we just put it in a list? We can either have this form here is what?
That's the axis center.
Oh, so we can't have a single geoposition, meaning rotate the centroid to this.
At least not in a pair. So if you go again to the ref page, you see that's the first line, which I think is the easiest to understand. You want a rotation around that position of angle alpha.
I don't think that's the easiest to understand. I think position goes to position. I think it's what people are going to want most of the time. Stick Greenland and Australia.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Again, I'm thinking of this from the point of view of rotations. From the point of view of repositioning, yes, I do agree. The second line should become the first one.
Okay, let me give you a for instance where that isn't the case. Let's say you want to figure out, well, I can imagine like a satellite moving across the Earth
Mhm.
at a certain angle. Is that even? Oh, I'm so confused. I mean,
It has been requested by users that they want a map like oriented differently. They want north to the right or something.
yes. But also I'm thinking about other planets and satellites and so on. You've got a satellite track. You've got some piece of a, and you want to know, the satellite is moving in this direction, but that's geodestination, basically.
I
This
think so,
requires
yeah.
more thought. And I recommend just having a little think about other planets.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For all this stuff, including the rendering, I mean, here's a very naive question about the moon. I mean, it is black and white, more or less.
Mhm.
True statement? I think it is at all levels.
Yes.
The,
Yes, our satellite is basically a gray scale. Yes, that's right.
no, but the moon itself, you can see it in the sky, right? And you see all these photographs there, and it really is, regolith is basically black and white, I think.
Yes,
I see your
it's
point.
probably it's black, which is able to reflect light, and that's why it looks white.
I see. So in other words, whatever its resonances are, they're far away from visible light. So it's either, there's no green or something where, right? Because things are going to look green if they have differential reflection of things across the visible spectrum. So the idea would be any change of reflection is happening outside of the visible range, I guess. Well, that's my theory of the moon for today. All right, let's wrap up. Lots of really nice stuff here. Good work on all these colors and rendering and so on. Let's just get it a bit faster, and then we're going to have something truly wonderful.
We'll work on that. Yes.
Sounds good. Okay, see you all soon.
Bye.